Matthew Lloyd!
It is deep dive time, and we saw Paddy Ryder on the bench in tears with the fact that he was going to miss the final series. So I thought I'd take a look back in the deep dive at heartbreak for players in finals time. And the biggest one of mine of all, is one of the most famous stories, is 1990 and the story of how Alan Richardson missed that drought-breaking premiership for Collingwood.
I was doing all the training without the combative part of training, and I was convinced myself that I was right to go.
I was always going to put him through a pretty brutal fitness test.
So I was a little bit unlucky there because he was not that long out of the game. He was an incredibly powerful man.
15,000, 20,000 people watching this go down. And he sort of relaxed, and Lee knew he'd relax, and then Lee just went bang.
Basically just ran through me, ran over the top of me. Woke up in the morning, I'm in a lot of pain, I'd semi-knitted, if you like, in the fracture in the collarbone, and Lee had made amends to that.
He put his hand up and said, "We won't worry about a Friday fitness test. I know I'm not right."
You think, gee whiz, I was that close. That was a tough time.
Unbelievable. How fit did Lee Matthews look in that vision?
His legs, how big his legs were.
And I know they put the same thing to Nigel Lappin. He put him through the same fitness test with one of the Scott brothers. With his ribs, who got through and played. But Kane, you've got a real heartbreaker, a guy who missed 2 premierships for the Adelaide Crows.
Yeah, he was almost like a god in Adelaide from a sporting sense in the early 90s. I've never seen a more popular player, and yet he doesn't end up in one of the 2 premierships that the Crows have won. Tony Mojo, of course, he got hurt in that prelim final in 1997 with that knee injury which he'd been carrying and missed the 97 one, and then 1998, unbelievably, wasn't selected on form. So Tony Mojo, one of the most popular Crow of all time, wasn't a premiership player because of that.
So I don't think there's been a more popular player than Rob Murphy at the Western Bulldogs in recent memory, and he wasn't on the final Saturday in September. You see, he does his knee here earlier on in the season. The Dogs just went on this amazing run. I mean, everybody's hearts went out to Murphy, who's a great mate of mine. To see this on the day, I mean, there was just so much emotion. The Dogs hadn't won one for so long. He was so good on the day. He stood up there with everybody. He did the job that he needed to do, and it was just a heartbreaking moment, but he was so happy for all the rest of his teammates and the club.
So there's the injuries, but I reckon you'd never live with yourself if for a split second you get suspended, TJ, and it has been for a couple at Collingwood.
Yeah, that's right. Let's just look at 2 of those. Jason Cloke in 2002. This is the prelim against Adelaide. Bang. And down goes Tyson Edwards. Now, as a result of that, Jason Cloke missed the following week's grand final. And you can argue, and I guess we'll never know whether it would have made any difference or not. Maybe not. But that was Jason Cloke's opportunity there. In fact, I think what followed the year later was Mick Malthouse's comment about how he thought Jason Cloke had played a better game the year before. If you might recall that, because he didn't actually bloody play.
Didn't go out the ground.
Now, the following year, Anthony Rocker was also suspended. This was in the preliminary final for belting Brendan Lloyd. He was also suspended. Yeah, he probably deserved it. But he was also suspended and missed the grand final for Collingwood the following week. So 2 very, very costly indiscretions there, although I don't think you'd argue that either bloke sort of deserved it.
Well, have a look at a couple of these. 1989, Peter Swab semi-final. This is Manning there. Now, that is so unlike Peter Swab, by the way. So he missed the grand final there, of course.
Johnny Hook.
There he is at the tribunal. And then this one here, Jace McCartney, of course.
Last few minutes, Bill, of that prelim.
Oh, mate. And who came in?
Cameron Mooney.
And what did he do?
He sat on the bench for 3/4. I think that'll be the last 10 minutes.
Look at this one here. This is, who is this? Neville Crowe.
Yeah.
And it missed him. And John Nichols plays up to it. Guess what? Neville Crowe got suspended for that. Yeah. He got suspended and missed the grand final because of that. That's not on.
Neville.
Went on to become president, didn't he?
Yeah, great man, Neville.
And you talk about heartbreak, Damo, and you've got one in a Collingwood year where they went on and actually won the grand final.
Yeah, it was, Lloyd. The 2010 drawn grand finals against St Kilda. Leon Davis actually kicked a goal in that drawn game. He only had the 4 kicks, though, for the match, and added 2 handballs to that tally, and it meant that Mick Malthouse made the decision in that week after that game to leave him out of the replay, and Tyson Goldsack came in to replace him and actually kick the opening goal of that replayed game. But Leon Davis missed out the premiership, came back the next year to become an All-Australian and then not be seen again at AFL level, but will never, ever be able to get over the not playing in that Collingwood replayed win in 2010.
Is that when Tyson backed himself for the first goal?
Well, it
I don't think he backed himself, but people around him might have, Bill, when he came in and started on the game on the bench, didn't he, even, and still was able to get on the ground and kick the first goal of that particular game.
And that year as well, Prestigiacomo pulled out and said he's not fit enough to play in that game, which people love. But I just want to touch on, while we finish this segment, Derek Kickett of Essendon in 1993, played every game for the year. Sheeds dropped him for Dean Wallace for the grand final, and he did an article a week later and said, "I hate Sheedy's guts." They walked out and moved on to Sydney Swans the next year.
But they've made up, haven't they?
Made up since, but there was about 15, 20 years in the yeah.
And I think, I know we're tight for time, but John Coleman, another Essendon great, was rubbed out maybe 51 in the final round of the home and away season, copped 4 weeks, and was absolutely devastated as a result
53.
of... 53, was it?
Geelong won it.
I'm talking about John Coleman played for Essendon.
Geelong won the grand final because Coleman got rubbed out.
Oh, so it was 53, was it? I think it was 51.
Oh.
Anyway, we'll take a break.
We'll 52, I think.
Anyway, it was in the 50s. We'll get to the bottom of that in this break. Stay with us. You're watching the Sunday Footy Show.